I wasn't sure because they're opening all these other things.
But what they're doing is actually putting these people in hotels. They're not actually opening sites.
Okay.
They're not opening any. I'm keeping track. I get emails on all of that stuff. So
Yeah,
good.
I saw even in the news they had listed how many, or I don't know, maybe it was Larimer County site. They had listed how many rooms at each one of the hotels they've filled up. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's the Larimer County one. I get that too. So yeah, you're right. But I hadn't heard anything individually from Red Cross. If you're in contact with her, I'm fine with it. I just wanted to make sure that we're kind of knowing what's going on. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. It's after 9 o'clock. It's actually right on 9 o'clock.
Right on then.
I have not seen the newsletter. Has anybody?
No.
No, I got an email from Ann day before yesterday asking if my last Horsetooth update to the board could be used as a tech report, but I had not heard from her. And
Okay.
It doesn't look like
I
she's
got
on.
an email from her a couple of days ago asking for an email address, but nothing since.
Well, anyway, let's get started by just doing a round robin here. Go ahead, James. Go ahead, start it off.
And what am I doing? Sorry.
KD0 TYU, Joe.
Oh, okay. KI0KN, James.
Roger, KG0I.
Dick, KE0ME.
KC0ZIE, Darren.
Greg, N0EMP.
Mark, N7CTM, Firestone.
John, NK0Y, Loveland.
Bob, N0TZU, Berthoud.
Tony, KD0WDX.
David, K6OG, Estes Park.
Jim, K0BEC.
Oh, sorry. Jim, KA6ETE.
Ed, N0RQV, South Loveland.
Mike, KE0ZRD, Fort Collins.
Mark, AE0DJ, Fort Collins.
Glenn Colombonet, K0GCB, Fort Collins.
Doug, K2AD, Firestone.
Tom, N0KBX, Wellington.
Hi, I'm just first time here. I'm a guest, so nice to meet you, everyone. I don't have a call sign. My name is Andrew. Thank you.
Well, we can fix that. There's 3 of us on the top line that can fix that.
That's what I'm looking for. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, fine. Thank you.
Okay, great. No problem. And I'm very happy to be here. Thank you again for invitation, Darren. I got the link from Darren. Thank you. I mean, by the way, I'm in Westminster.
Oh, you're in West Denver. Okay.
No, Westminster.
Oh, Westminster. Okay.
Yeah.
Is everybody checked in? I guess.
Chris, KF0BOA, Fort Collins.
Hi, Chris.
Ralph, KA0CET, Fort Collins.
Derek, K1DCY, Firestone.
Anyone else? Okay, well, Tony, I don't know if you have the minutes from last meeting because we did not get that sent out. Is there any way you can pull that up?
The minutes from the last general meeting?
Yes.
Okay. I think I sent that to our webmaster.
I do have it. I just haven't posted it yet.
Okay.
Maybe you can just read them is what I'm saying. Because normally it's in the newsletter, but I don't think anybody got the newsletter. So.
Okay. Well, I have the general meeting from last time on hand. Let's see. We went through officer reports. Old business for that day. We were talking about Tech Fest going virtual and declining Golden Corral's offer at in-person meeting spaces. James gave a very brief update on Red Feather, and we talked about the November Rosin Core. And we had a pretty good presentation on sunspots and the ionosphere.
That it? Good.
That would be it.
Darren, financial?
We got money. The report is posted. Let's see. I don't think there were any. Biggest thing we had was buying a nice pan tilt zoom camera for Horsetooth, which is, as far as I know, still sitting in James's garage.
No, it's in my house.
In your garage?
No, it's in the front.
It's
It's
of
in
the fire.
the living room. It's in the living room.
Okay, well, it's getting top-notch treatment. We picked up 7 new members last month. So that now takes us to 261, which is the biggest the club has ever been. Our highest point ever before was 257. And we've already gotten, I think, 3 or 4 already this month.
Cool.
So I think we're in fantastic shape. We've got a great membership going. And on that subject, it is membership renewal season. So yeah, it's still a little bit early, but I will be getting messages out here soon.
And
Any
Darren,
questions?
Darren, for those of us that just joined last month, is that renew a year from that date, or will that?
Yeah, we have a grace period at the end of the year that if you join at the end of the year, we give you the next year for free, because we run calendar year memberships. I should have put that in your welcome message, and you can also log in. I'm not sure if I've got that piece of it working just yet. And I might just roll into the web side of things here, that I'm working on some changes to the way that we manage members, and a lot more of it's going to be online on the website, so you'll be able to see it, manage it yourself. And that frees me up from being in the middle of the chain. And as part of that, you'll be able to see your expiration dates, payments you've made, all of that kind of stuff. So I'll take any questions, and if not, send it back to you, Joe.
Ralph?
Will we be able to do payments online? Is that already in place?
That's already in place, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, we go so far that he's actually got a little thing he puts in his cell phone. We could even do it driving a car down the street if you want.
Also do PayPal, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's what we've got online on the website.
Hey, question for you. I gather it'll be clearly marked on the form and the thing you're sending out that if we'd like to double pay or put a donation in there for what we're doing, I'm assuming you will refuse all donations and extra payments, Darren.
No. All extra payments and donations need to be made out to me personally and sent to my home address.
Or me.
But on a serious note, I think you may find in another group I'm involved with, we're finding that this may be tough times, but a lot of people are wanting to be generous. And if you put a little bit of just a slight blurb as to what you would do with this, because I believe James, who's on mute right now, would be quoted as his famous saying, what are we? What are we not?
A bank.
We're not
a bank, but we do need some new batteries for the mountain, obviously. We're maybe going to lose some things in this fire. And if you give the slightest indication of how the money might be raised, I think you might be surprised how, especially since there may not be a traditional hamfest to raise funds.
That was something I was going to mention, is that we are going to make a gentle request for anyone that might have come to our hamfest, since that is a good source of our income as well.
Yeah.
That we're going to be missing out on this year.
And if you wish to file a complaint, Just write it on the back of the $100 bill, mail it in. I guarantee the club will read every complaint form.
We need to move that up a little bit. That's what they send in for complaints about why 275 isn't up as per your note yesterday. So we need to go this to maybe $1,000 bill.
Well, no, they can just file multiple complaints, but please use a separate form for each complaint.
Separate bill?
Yes.
Okay, guys.
That's the complaint form.
Moving on.
Yeah, we better move along a little bit. James, tech report, if you can do it. I don't know.
Yeah. So I want to I'm going to touch just quickly touch base on technical update and spend a little bit more time on strategy update here, given the circumstances. So from a tech point, I did want to, I've been talking about for a while the GPS problems that we've had at our sites for a long time. A very common thing is we were using these little Garmin GPS pucks, typically inside the building, looking through the roof, and then, improperly just paralleled to a whole bunch of our voting receiver controllers. And they've been, honestly, given how inappropriate that setup is, they've worked really well. But I designed a GPS distribution board that would take multiple different types of GPS in and properly buffer and distribute the serial signal out to as many as 8 repeater controller, like voting receivers per board on the site. And it took a couple of revisions to get that thing to where it was actually working properly. Now it's working really well. We just rolled one out on Buckhorn Mountain on Wednesday this past week and moved to an outdoor amplified GPS antenna. So we should have very, very rock solid GPS now, and that so far has proven to be true. Buckhorn also started having some microwave dropouts, and upon investigation found that the category 5 Ethernet cable that we use there, apparently, whether or not it was UV stabilized or enough UV stabilized, I don't know, but the cable was heavily damaged. It was sun rotted, and when some other work by the other people at the site was done, Doug's got a picture there of the GPS board running that I designed there. He's got one running on the shelf there. And there's the little GPS that we're using now. Thanks, Doug, for sharing that.
You had also mentioned why we need GPS.
The voting receivers require it. So any receiver that has a voter, the way that the voters work is by time stamping all of their packets as the received packets come in, and the master server then compares the received signal indication, the RSSI of each of the sites, and it retransmits the strongest one block by block. Little tiny slices of audio. It can actually mix, in 1 second of audio. I can't remember what it is. I think it's
is it 100 millisecond slices?
I think it's 3,000 samples a second or something like that, and each little slice can switch back and forth and be transmitted. Nonetheless, that Cat 5 cable was replaced on Wednesday. Oh, Doug was that cable was replaced. The GPS was put into place. Everything on Buckhorn was sealed up. Buckhorn East, the 65700 systems, and literally we were basically asked to leave the mountain for the evacuation as it came up. We ended up being hit a roadblock on the way up, went around the other direction, and while we were up there in the 60+ mile-an-hour winds doing tower work, they asked us to leave as the evacuation was there. Turns out that's actually a really good thing, because having that site up is become very crucial for us for given the horsetooth problems. there's lots of work to do still at other sites, but I want to switch off a little bit and use the rest of my time here to talk about our strategy going forward, because I'm sure everyone on here is aware that Horsetooth repeaters are both down right now. Horsetooth is a bit of a critical microwave junction site for us to connect not only our resources together, but also connect the northern network to other resources in the state. For example, the 275 that's normally linked to the 750 on Lee Hill requires that microwave link to work. The Horsetooth Rocky Mountain Ham DMR system rides that same link to connect the North and Rocky Mountain wide talk groups back in. Same with the Buckhorn DMR system. The Buckhorn West Colorado connection receiver, transceiver, the repeater that's up there also requires those links. So a lot rides on those links, and we share, amongst all the clubs to keep us all connected. And Horsetooth is one of the critical spots in there. We do have multiple links in and out of Horsetooth. We do have redundancy in as many places as we've been able to build it in. But as you know, when we run out of power, doesn't matter. So that's actually where we're at right now. Is Horsetooth actually the first time we lost power was able to be restored, and some settings that were lost during a firmware upgrade were put back so that it automatically drops the big heavy loads like the repeaters and things, so that the microwave will stay up on the battery that we have available there for as long as possible. Now, Buckhorn and Horsetooth both
Mark
lost.
says it wasn't him.
Okay. I'll have to find the guy that changed our firmware. Or maybe I'll find the guy that didn't go check all the settings after the firmware was upgraded. No, so yeah, I didn't go back in and make sure everything stayed after the upgrade. Horsepower was lost to both mountains, but Buckhorn has the state DTRS site on it, as well as Larimer County Sheriff's, one of their primary sites, and Poudre Valley REA's primary repeater site. That's just a small fraction of what's on Buckhorn, but as you can see, those are extremely priority sites, especially given the where the fire is and who's using those systems. So PVREA was actually able to get another feed up the other side of the mountain to power Buckhorn back up almost immediately, and nothing went down there. We were on generator for just a very short time. Horsetooth is important, but less important from an emergency communication standpoint in the public safety sector. So they were actually able to change the power. We were out for about, I don't know what it was, 12 hours or something. But they were actually able to get Horsetooth back up, and that's when we were able to get control and change all the settings and things. But as you know, Horsetooth power is out again. And as of right now, I'm not sure when it's going to come back. So as I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about strategy here. So what our strategy going forward is, we know that everyone is absolutely, their first priority is keep Buckhorn up. And Buckhorn Mountain, we have two very good repeaters there. And the only catch to Buckhorn repeaters is the voting receivers for the 700 and are actually pretty useful for, especially for folks that live along especially the western edge of Fort Collins and Loveland, because Buckhorn is shadowed from those locations and it's a little bit harder to get into. With the voting receivers, it's very easy, and those repeaters remain pretty much HT coverage. So it's critical for us to do everything we can in order to make the Buckhorn repeaters, which we know are going to be kept powered, as usable as possible by keeping the voting receivers working. The critical point for that is keeping the microwave links working at Horsetooth. just so everyone knows, we do actually have a back door into Buckhorn. The Buckhorn West site has an internet connection, and it actually went down when the power went down, and it was not, Rise Broadband is our provider there, and they were not able to restore the service. So it is still down, and so our back door is locked. We have, so if we don't keep Horsetooth up, we don't have voting receivers at Buckhorn. So until the fire is over and we can reassess where our weaker points were to shore up in the next round of things, we're going to focus on keeping the Buckhorn repeaters working and available. And yes, I know about the reports that some folks in different areas were able to reach one better than the other. I believe that still today they are linked together, and we plan on leaving them linked together so that everyone can communicate best as we can. I know Red Feather and Estes Park specifically have issues with one or the other, and there's, nothing's as good for Estes Park, I don't think, as Horsetooth, but that is no longer an option. So if we can keep them connected, that's option one. And of course, with the priority of keeping the Buckhorn repeaters up, keeping the links, microwave links to Buckhorn up so that we can run the voting receivers and keep control of everything is along with our top priority. That also means that the 275 and 115 are not our top priority to keep on the air during this emergency. A linked system and to a Buckhorn system, to the Buckhorn is the absolute #1 strategy. We are looking at all the options right now. Doug has been kind enough to put forth some large batteries that we can use to bolster Horsetooth's power supply. Another one of our collaborative club members has offered a solar panel that'll deliver a solid 10 amps that we can potentially use. I have a charge controller we can use with that, so hopefully we can get some more sustainable backup power for the links up to Horsetooth. And Horsetooth is in the mandatory evacuation zone, so we will have to work with Larimer County Sheriff to get access up there. I've heard from some other Horsetooth site tenants that it's possible to do that, and we're working on excuse me, on that. If things got really bad, there are quite a few resources available. Doug is working on putting together some spare repeaters or not yet deployed in other place repeaters and things that we could, park on the QRV van or run up to a site and deploy. So we've got lots of things in our sleeve. Lots of work is being done preemptively for, worst case scenarios. Our #1 goal is make sure that we have communications available for A, Aries activations, B, any of our members that might live, or want to do welfare checks on folks that live in evacuation zones, make sure everybody's safe. And further down the list is provided, a repeater resource to chat on. In my email to the club, I reminded folks that we do have, 7 or 8 or 9 other repeaters in the area, as well as simplex and lots of choices for just visiting with each other. We just wanted to try and keep our up high resources as capable as they can for looking out for each other, serving our served agencies under Aries, and making sure everybody's safe. So, things are kind of on hold on regular work until we get through this situation, and those are the priorities right now. So let me stop there and see if there's any questions about what's going on or, what the expectations are from here. Michael got a question.
Yes, thanks for that. Clearly, there's a core of you that are, I don't know what the echo is. There's a core of you that are doing all this work. Is there anything that we can do, rank and file members, to help out with resources or labor or anything?
The answer to that is maybe. There's almost always a need for help in one way or another, and when situations like this come up, I think the best thing that we can do is stay available, listen, a lot to the repeaters, and watch for your email. We will reach out if there's something specific that's needed. Absolutely, really appreciate all the offer and the help. And one of the biggest things I'll ask is the same thing I've stressed in my emails. We have a lot of our members, a lot of our fellow hams, a lot of our family and friends and community members that are affected by the evacuation. Some of them may have lost their homes, and they don't know, we don't know. So, let's keep the ham spirit alive by supporting these folks and helping them out, do what we can. When the club needs something, or we need something from an equipment standpoint, we'll absolutely reach out. If we need somebody to ride with us to go deploy something, we'll reach out. In the meantime, I would ask that let's just take care of each other and make sure we're available for anybody that needs it.
Can I comment, James?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you said that well. If we're looking at going into this evacuation zone, we're probably going to be limited to who we can bring in there, and they just don't want a lot of people in harm's way. And they're probably not going to be happy even with 2 or 3 people going in, because they're trying to get people out. And now they've got more people to worry about. But what James said is very true. The other, we have a lot of equipment, so there may be some opportunity to work with some of this down here in the valley, prepare it, or on the plains, prepare the equipment, get it ready to go. We can deploy most anything we need, but keep in mind, if we are going to deploy another backup repeater site, it may take us 12 hours or more to get all this stuff in. And sometimes the power just comes back in 3 or 4 hours. James was very calm and logical in saying, the last time the power went out, don't panic, start planning, and let's see if it comes back before you finish your planning. And it did. So you were wise, James. But the one thing about the Horsetooth repeaters is we've diverted all power on the batteries to maintaining the microwave, which means the voting receivers for Buckhorn are currently offline. But we still have the Buckhorn receivers running, and we have the UHF receiver on Lee Hill is still running. And it remarkably from Boulder has a great view into Loveland and Fort Collins. And on the AriesNet the other night, typically when people were weakened to Buckhorn, Lee Hill was picking them up and voting them in, and you probably never even noticed. The other thing is the repeaters 447.275 and 145.115 on Horsetooth. If we get AC power back, they are set to come on AC power. So if you see them, they're there at one point and not at the next point, it's because AC power is fluctuating. When they're there, you can certainly use them, but just don't count on them because we don't have batteries right now. That's all being diverted to the microwave. So,
guys,
James, thanks for all you're doing. And
guys, I realize
mute button now.
Guys, I realize this is important, but we need to move along. Jim's got to get out of here a little bit early. So
yeah. So what I'll ask is, if you have more questions, just put them in the chat, and I'll answer them in the chat. And let's move the meeting on so that we can get to our presentation. Happy to catch up there. So thanks, Joe.
You bet. Dave, PAO, do you have anything for us this evening or this morning? Dave, I don't know where you're at. You were there.
I don't have it ready, Joe. I have all this stuff working on the stream, so.
Okay, good. Not a problem. Webmaster, I guess you talked about it. Interference, we don't have a repeater, so what the heck? Wayne's not here. Let's move a little bit along to old business, TechFest. TechFest update. We are going to go ahead and do this on January 16th. I have talked to Wayne earlier this week, and I've got some particulars I'm going to do, and I'm going to send out some invitations to some speakers that I'm thinking about having. The next thing was repeater updates, and James, I think you covered that pretty much. So we'll move along with that. Red Feather Project update, we're dead in the water. They have denied us to go on Dead Man. And of course, early on, they denied us to go on Killpecker, but we still got possibly one iron in the fire that there's no sense in talking about it now because we don't really know. But anyway, we're still working on the Red Feather Project for sure. Okay. Darren, I'm gonna transfer this to you for the November Rosin Course.
Suppose I should go off mute. Thanks. We've got the November Rosin Corps scheduled. I have not seen a roster for that yet, so I don't know how many people are signed up. But we're going to try to make antennas out of slinkies for HF. Kind of a fun little antenna to have and something interesting to show off. Cost is $15 for that, includes all materials, and you sign up through the City of Fort Collins website. So I'll leave it at that. If anybody has any questions, let me know. And for that one, we need a minimum of 5 to hold the class at the city. And I am seriously thinking about doing a mutiny if we don't have 5 and just taking whoever signed up and doing it in my garage. That's about it.
What was the date on that?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
November.
I think it is Friday, November 6th. Let me double check.
And I know this is a crazy question. Is that single band, multi-band, or just single taps?
Well, you can tune it. So we should be able to tune those to different bands, but you'd need a tuner in the field to do that.
No problem. Thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions for Darren? Okay, let's move along then. Just to kind of wrap up some things that we talked about here to kind of basically use this. We only had like 15 people on, now there's 30. So I'm going to say that Aries has not been called out at this time for anything. We are just kind of hedging our bets is why we're looking at using this. Both Buckhorn repeaters are linked in and will stay linked in. So you can go on the 2 meter, you can go on a 70 centimeter, makes no difference, 65, 700, or makes no difference. You will be linked into one to another. So just to make sure that, that's it. Also, we've got what I think, Darren, there's like 3 entries or 2 entries left on the second shift. For the
on the we've got a test session coming up on Thursday the 22nd. So a little over or a little less than a week from now. And 6 of the 8 slots are taken. So only 2 spaces remain if anybody wants tested. Testing is free and all levels offered.
Any questions about that? It is on the website. So if you didn't get the email, just go on the website and you can click on that and you can actually register through that if you'd like. Any other questions of the board or us? We're kind of fighting a first time type situation, but I think we're coming out of this okay. So got a lot of support from Doug and Rocky Mountain Ham and James. I really feel bad about your vacation. Really feel bad about it.
Okay, we're learning a lot, and because of this, everything will be better at the other end.
That's true. Any other questions? If there's
Joe,
none, I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just a comment. You know, our ham club has a repeater at the top of Glen Haven, and it is still up for right now. It's on battery because they've lost power up there, but it's still up. So that means that building is still there, which is a good thing.
Are you still having trouble getting us on the Buckhorn repeaters?
I am, yes. Now the other night during the net, I was able to get in okay, but right now it's very questionable whether I can get into it. And because we had 2 crossbands going, the crossband that we tried to set up here was so noisy, we just had to shut it off.
Yeah, you guys were coming in. Some of you were dead on. Some of you were a little rough, but we could understand you. So it wasn't a problem. I didn't feel.
Thank you.
Doug. Woo. Any other questions?
I brought the tech team online.
Shoot, you know what you're going to do? You're going to have everybody in the club wanting to go up to Horsetooth now. Anything else? Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Jim Dixon, who has our presentation on four-wheeling and ham radios. Jim?
Okay, let me get... Everyone should be able to see the presentation now. It's fairly short. Here's something Joe had asked me to bring up off of four-wheeling or off-highway vehicles and amateur radio. There's, in my opinion, a lot of similarities between the two. I know I started out with off-highway vehicles, enjoying the backcountry and that, and then after moving to Colorado, got into more heavily into amateur radio because, simply put, there is no communications outside of it when you're in the mountains. Right? So, let's get here. Some of the benefits for ham radio for the OHV user is being able to stay connected with family and friends while in the backcountry. Cell service is unreliable. Added safety and in a more reliable form of emergency communications. Multiple options for others to be able to get a hold of you in an emergency, being able to call for help, not only for yourself, but others, and foremost, safety. I know a lot of times, some of the places I've been, there's absolutely no cell service, and knowing how to use my radio and APRS features, I've been able to send text messages and that to my wife's cell phone, which at the time was not a radio operator, but now she is a licensed operator. So we have more options than just APRS now. Some of the benefits of OHV users to the amateur radio community: more users on local repeaters, additional field resources in times of need, capable vehicles to reach the most remote repeater sites. I know additional members to help support repeater site maintenance and or upgrades. Anytime you can add people into a community such as amateur radio or OHV users, it's beneficial. And not only do you have a bigger base, but you also have access to more funding to keep maintenance and keep repeaters going. Some of the situations where the OHV community has relied on amateur radio. A couple of the pictures here are, I'm also heavily involved with a group that's Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery. We're a full 501c3 nonprofit and also recognized as a search and rescue resource for the state of Colorado. We're part of the Colorado Search and Rescue Board, as well as assist a lot of repeater owners and clubs with help on funding and that, which I'm very proud to be a part of. This year we've donated thousands of dollars to different ham groups and repeater owners and that. Some of the biggest ones being the NCARC and Rocky Mountain Ham. So we definitely look forward to helping in the future. I know the pictures on here, I'm sure a lot of people heard about. A couple years ago, there was a bad Jeep accident out down by Uray that the passenger in the vehicle was unfortunately killed in the accident. They rolled several hundred feet down the side of the mountain with no way to get out other than radio communications. Here is where the same area, if you look at just a little deal here, right up in this area is where the accident was. There are no repeaters. This is down in west of Uray, by Mount Antero and that area. And so there's some high peaks in the area. The only repeater is down in Nathrop that could remotely be accessed. We even tried the ones down in Salida and that for the Colorado connection and Rocky Mountain Ham DMR link. In order for us to get communications out of here, I was staged down in this lower area at the canyon leading out and set up a relay station to where I was able to use a Yagi antenna and bounce my signal down the canyon to the repeater to get out to talk with people that were organizing between the county sheriff and Forest Service and search and rescue teams and that. It was very beneficial for a very high risk situation at very high altitudes. This is another one that was in our area up here in northern Colorado that was on Kelly Flats Trail up POUDRE Canyon up by, no, I can't even think what mile marker it is, but it's just before you get to Pingree Park Road in that area known as Heart Attack Hill. Vehicle rolled about 500 feet down the side. They had to be recovered, and the only type of communication up there is amateur radio. So I've noticed, along with helping a lot of other people, realize that there is no replacement for good communications, and that just happens to be amateur radio. Some other things that we have been able to use amateur radio for is during the past few years, every year we've seemed to have had a blizzard that on the Eastern Plains and that. We've been called out to help extract drivers and pedestrians stranded in snow and blizzard conditions, which has always been a fun task and something I do not recommend to do if you do not have to. Is there really a difference? And what came first? One big thing that a lot of amateur radio operators are into is boondocking, and also known in the OHV community as overlanding. You can see from the list, they both are exactly the same. Just one, we are more centralized on getting there into different areas, and the other one's people are a little bit more into the radio aspect of it, but they are exactly the same, which means that the two communities have a lot more in common than a lot of people realize, and they're both there to help each other out anytime it's needed. Here's some pictures of my overlanding experiences and stuff like that. You can tell that we get into very remote areas that are very rough terrain that not many vehicles can access. And also doing some boondocking to where I was out just camping and using my radio and enjoying fun and enjoying the scenery. Areas like down in Silverton area and that, down by Durango, everywhere else, there's definitely a lot of places to visit that I know a lot of ham operators also like visiting the same areas and oftentimes use a four-wheel drive vehicle to get there, but don't consider themselves part of the OHV community, which in my opinion, they are a part of the OHV community. They're two separate communities that are one in the ultimate scheme of things. Another thing that both of them have in common is the SENCE community. Both do whatever they can to help those in need. These pictures are from helping at marathons and that with communications, helping to keep public lands open and trail maintenance, all the way down to helping in times of disaster. The lower left picture is one from up in Glen Haven from the floods. I was part of a group and organized a lot of cleanup efforts and assistant efforts to where I would have upwards of 150 volunteers a day, 6 days a week for months on end in Glen Haven and all up and down 34 and the retreat area and everywhere else. And so it's definitely a community-based organization and groups that want to help whenever it's needed. Well, it seems the two hobbies are completely different in many ways. They have so much in common. It's through understanding of each that they can come together and benefit everyone. Like I said at the beginning, there are benefits for both that can help the others. I know some of our repeater sites are way in the mountains and then areas that the normal vehicle can't get to, especially coming into winter conditions and everything else, to where having access to people in the OHV community, and me personally, I have multiple friends that have vehicles that are equipped with tracks on all four corners for winter months that we've been able to access the top of some of the most remote passes in Colorado in the middle of winter when there's 15 feet of snow on them. And that's something that can definitely benefit the radio community whenever there's issues at a repeater site and no way to get to it because of winter conditions. There's people out there that can help you get to them. Where with the OHV community, if we're out in an area, 99% of the time, the only communication we have is ham radio. So it's definitely two that I would like to see working closer together and being able to accomplish a lot more. It was a shorter presentation. It's something I put together over the past week without much time. But anyone have any questions or comments or anything?
Yeah, Jim, I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
You guys use Simplex over well, I guess percentage wise, do you use Simplex over using a repeater?
We use Simplex a lot. I know with the rescue and recovery group, a lot of times we'll have what we can consider a dispatcher that's in town relaying information that they will communicate with using a repeater. But as far as the teams in the field that we use, they use Simplex 99% of the time, depending on the circumstance. And so we use a combination of both. We have itinerant frequencies that we also use for some of our members that are not licensed ham operators yet, which we push all of our members to become licensed operators. Right now we have 175 members in our rescue and recovery group, and I want to say roughly 135 of us are licensed amateur radio operators.
Yeah, as kind of a follow-up on that, you use the infamous, and I know I'm going to get a lot of people look at me nasty about this, CB usage?
No, a lot of people ask us about that, and a lot of our members would, when they would become members, would say, well, I have a CB, that's all I'm going to use, until they see the difference between CB and even using like a 70 centimeter Simplex frequency, the difference in range and capabilities, and within a week or two go and get their license and buy a new radio.
That is so cool. That is so cool. I kind of thought maybe you'd have some people who said, yeah, just exactly that. I'm going to use a CB and that's it. But you know, the tech test is difficult for some, but not overly overwhelming. it's just kind of worth doing it.
Yeah, I know when we first started getting a lot of people using amateur radio and that, we got a lot of pushback from some of the old time hams that seen new people coming in that were new and would looked at it as someone using something they shouldn't be using, which over time I've talked to a lot of them, and a lot of them start to understand that it's two hobbies, and the more people you have, the better off you are. And we've actually managed to get a lot of close relationships with a lot of different organizations, and we've started to work real close with a lot of the CERN monitors on the Colorado Connection Network that they have stepped up and offered, or not even really offered, that if we're out on a mission somewhere or deployment somewhere, they've suspended their nets because they realize that what we're doing is emergency communications and oftentimes life or death situations.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah.
have you used much HF?
We've used it some. A lot of our members don't have the capability of remote or mobile HF use. At times we have done some with some deployments that we've had out in the western portion of the northwestern corner of the state for search and rescue missions, and that, to where I have been the so-called the dispatcher back here in the Front Range, and we've had someone out there with HF that we have been able to use HF to communicate back and forth, just because there are no repeaters out there. But it's limited use that we've pushed more of our members to learn about and get familiar with. I know a lot of groups will just push people, oh, go just memorize the questions and get your license and buy your radio, and that's all you need to do. I've been involved with it since the beginning, and I've pushed a lot of members to get their license, but not only get their license, have a firm understanding how to properly use it and ethically use their radios. To me, proper use is more important than just saying, go get it and don't worry about it. You'll learn it as you go. You need to learn it before you try and use it.
I had a couple questions. I know one, from the amateur side, we've got the club and some meetings and some of these presentations. Do you have, kind of formal meetings with some of your clubs and, interest with, some more of the, technical piece, or where the repeaters, or, some best practices and some things with, with your other groups?
Yeah, right. We do. That's why I'm limited on time this morning, and we have with our rescue and recovery, we have quarterly membership meetings. We have meetings every month, but we do a quarterly big meeting that I have to leave for it by 10:30. So, but no, we definitely talk a lot about different aspects of radio. We've had presentations from people on radio and a lot of emergency communication seminars and that for members to be able to learn and understand it better.
Thanks. And then the second question, I know you mentioned APRS, and, I just, are you finding spots out there that you're not necessarily getting into an iGate, and, or, if you're on a mission, are you just using like APRS FI, or, how do you keep track of kind of the users and some different things who do have APRS when you're using it for, this type of stuff? A lot of us just, we turn it on, people can go, hey, yeah, this is where you're at. But kind of a coordinated, type of effort when you've got a recovery, or, some different things when you're practicing your communication skills.
I mean, there are definitely, for the first part of your question, there are definitely a lot of black hole areas to where there is no APRS reception to be able to get into a digipeater or iGate, which we try and track and be aware of. For the most, everyone, a lot of our people know how to use APRS more than just turning it on and beaconing their location. I've done a few presentations for them and a few classes on how to be able to send a text message or change your status message on your APRS beacon to resemble or represent like your actual status if you're on scene or en route, or if you're having issues, just so that is beaconed to where the person back at the front range that's gathering all the information to relay the information has a more detailed option. We've even used it to, if there are no other communications besides APRS in some areas, such as like at the base of Red Cone Mountain, which is north or kind of down 285 by Jefferson area, and that you get down in the valley there, you're able to get out on APRS, but nothing else, even with some of the repeaters in the area, to where we'll send out an email using APRS or a text message to give status updates on progression of a mission or if there's any additional needs.
Any other questions for Jim? Well, Jim, I'd like to thank you for doing the presentation, and you gave me an idea for another presentation, which I'm hoping you'll do. We will talk Thursday anyway about this. A couple things I kind of want to mention. We're kind of in a bubble, if you will. We had planned on running a tech class and also a Hamlet class toward the end of the year, but as you can tell, with our repeaters down and with the fire going, things like that, we really can't. And with COVID, we couldn't do them live, one-on-one type situations. So we're kind of putting that on hold. We possibly will have a Zoom class sometime. But again, we need to get our repeaters up and kind of handle this fire for the counties and the states and the rest of that stuff if needed. But I am just amazed when Darren told me we had over 260 people in this club in a year that we should probably have nobody. We've increased to ourselves, and I do thank you very much for doing that. And it's you guys that are doing this. And like I said, if you want to upgrade from a technician's license to a general, that's a really big step. And we do offer these classes, and we plan on offering pretty much once a month or so. We may move our venue only because it's kind of cold in Darren's garage with the door open in December. So we may move that along for that. Is there anybody else has any questions, comments, or anything else? Please call.
Joe, just wear a jacket.
You mean a parka?
Joe, I had something real quick here.
Certainly.
I know
we got time.
I know Doug mentioned this earlier. I had been talking to Darren about getting a donate button added to our webpage. I don't think it's there yet, but as Doug mentioned, and we're going to have some unexpected expenditures to shore up things and make them a little better after this fire situation. So we're going to have some expenditures there that we normally wouldn't have. And we also lost our Hamfest revenue. As Joe said, at 260 members, if every member gave one time a $15 donation, we'd recover all of our Hamfest income. So, if you're interested in helping out in another way, get a hold of Darren, and if there's anything you can donate, even as a one-time or something like that, just to help cover a little extra equipment so we can, make the whole system better, please consider that.
Maybe you could even put a very short list of wish lists. I find that when people see what you're proposing to use the money for, the wallets open up.
Yeah, and so
you can't see what it's being used for. We're just making a bank. The wallet stays closed.
And I'll tell you right now, there's two things that I can foresee us moving forward with fairly quickly. One is to shore up the power system at Horsetooth with bigger batteries and probably some solar. And the second thing is to get a second microwave path from Rattlesnake Ranch up to Buckhorn, so that if Horsetooth was lost, we would still have a solar-backed path there. So there's two things that I'd like to pursue most immediately. If anyone's interested in throwing a few extra bucks at that to help, please send it to or contact Darren to get that PayPal or whatever. I'm sure he'll take your money in almost any form.
You bet I will.
So thank you all for your consideration and for letting me beg for more dollars, even though I am always the one doing it.
I can quickly add to that is that a lot of times employers will match donations, and we are a full 501c3 nonprofit. So we would qualify for all of those matching programs if your company has them.
However, no goats or cattle.
No livestock?
No livestock. Unless you want to put it in your backyard. You've got a really nice backyard. I don't recommend it. One other thing I want to mention, some of you people know who this is, some of you people don't. Many years ago, when Willie was around, him and I went out and talked to the director, I guess you could call him, for Larimer County's fairgrounds facilities, who's not there anymore. But I've been working with a lady by the name of Liz Jack for the last, forever. And she sent me a very nice note last week saying she understands that we have a problem, and we're very sorry to do that. But if you need it at any time, we have priority. So what my thought is that we're not canceling the Hamfest. We plan on, we're still looking at planning on doing it sometime that year. We just want to wait for all the COVID stuff to go away, or at least get more neutral. So don't think we've given up on the Hamfest. We have not. We're just we know that in January, it's not going to be possible for us to have 500 people in a place. So anyway, that's where we're at with that. Any comments, questions?
Actually, Joe, I got one.
Yes, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah. So you mentioned first two things, I guess. First, I'm one of the guilty parties here who just tested into the technician license and kind of still needs to learn how to do what I'm doing. Are there any club resources that I can kind of tag into to get a little better at this, or can I just keep listening to the repeaters when they're up?
Oh, I hope not. Darren, don't we have that on, or Dave, if you're still on, don't we have that Hamlet class someplace?
I don't know if we have or how much of the Hamlet class we have posted. I will find that. And who was that? Chris?
Yeah, it's Chris. We could put.
Actually, if you could just send me a quick note to treasurer@ncarc.net and request that, and I will send you everything that I've got. I know that I can round up some slides and things.
You got it. You called it the Hamlet class?
Yes.
Okay.
Our YouTube page is a great resource. There's lots of stuff. Some of the Hamlet stuff has ended up on the YouTube page. That's youtube.com/NCARC.
Okay.
I guess there's really no reason why we couldn't put together one in mid-November anyway. We've ran through a whole bunch of people here in the last 3 months.
Hamlet is something that I think we probably could do, because it's going to be just turn the crank, because we've done it many times before, and it's generally a single session.
Chris, let me put this thing together. And that's an excellent question. I appreciate that, because the Hamlet class, Mark, I saw you in here. Actually, his mother came up with the word Hamlet. and so I am now suing Longmont Amateur Radio Club because they have used that word.
Oh, man. And then the second one was, you mentioned offering potentially a general class later in the year. I'd like to make sure that I'm on that list.
Yeah, that takes a little bit more time, and considering we're going into the holidays and things like that, I don't think we can pull it off this year. Maybe we'll do one in January or so, things like that. Okay. But yeah, you bet. It's we plan on doing it. We've actually had very, very good success with our general class. We've only done one, but it worked out really well. Now, for all you people who want an extra class, that may be a challenge. That is really something that we have been looking at for years, to be honest with you. And it's a pretty difficult class to do in a 6-week period.
Well, but outside of any class offerings, don't forget that we've got our Elmer's program. And just in general, if there's a question you've got, if there's a tough area, if there's a problem, send us an email and we will find a resource and get you some help on that.
I will mention, just having gone through getting my extra, there are some really good resources on YouTube. The complete walkthrough of all the sections, that was fantastic, and some of the background material there was really good.
Yeah, that's Dave's fault. No, not really. He's done an excellent job with this. And I do really appreciate you, Dave. You've put this thing together, and it's remarkable.
I'll put a plug in for Gordon West's book also for extra class. What I liked about it particularly is it grouped it in logical groups, and it's a good reference book because it's got a lot of the formulas and things like that. You can just use as a reference book after the class is over. Plus, my brother gave it to me free because he was shaming me into getting my extra.
Yeah, the one thing, we do have a library also. Now, I've kind of limited to I've had a lot of people say, well, I've got last year's extra book. Would you want it in your library? Probably not, because it changes every 3 years. So therefore we have all outdated stuff. But NCARC has got a list of technical books from the handbook and things like that we can loan out to our members also, which we started 5 years ago, I'm supposing. And you know what? We've never loaned out one. Well, I take that back. Greg took one out once.
No, we've loaned out a few here and there. It's been pretty small though.
Yeah, they're all sitting down in the shed. I had them up here, but now they sit there. And if there's anything else you think we could do, please let us know. And let me kind of emphasize the Elmer group. This could be a hands-on type situation too. We can come up and help you do this and that. You know, with COVID, it's a little bit more difficult, but generally we've put up antennas. We've helped people with this and that. I've actually had them out here when my hex beam went down. James is the only one who knows how to pull that thing down, and he's not telling his secrets. So it is what it is. So just let us know. We definitely are looking for improving this club for sure.
Yeah, having recently gone through the Hamlet class, I would definitely recommend it for anyone who's just started out. That was a very useful resource. The last one you guys did. Good.
We've got all the slides and things like that, and I go ahead and put that together pretty quickly. So guys, get ready. I'll send her out here in the next 3 weeks. Anything else? Mark, you ready with your lawsuit?
Not me.
Sorry about that. I had to go on
Mr.
microphone.
Mark Clark.
Yes. My mother gets a great charge when I tell her that we've officially adopted the Hamlet term.
Well, so is the whole state. I was surprised. I haven't talked to Mark. Where did you guys come up with that?
My mom and dad, as long as I've been alive, have been great fans of William Shakespeare, the playwright. And my family lives in Minneapolis. And of course, the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis is world renowned for their Shakespeare program. Every year, until very recently, my mom and dad have gone to the Shakespeare Festival up in Oregon, or on alternating years over to England to see the Shakespeare Festival. So to say that they're Shakespeare enthusiasts, you kind of got to dial up what does enthusiast mean, because they're pretty much over the top. So one day I was talking about new hams and newbies and such, and my mother said, hams, new hams, little hams, Hamlets. and so it is.
Well, it's moved down along, man. I'm a member of that club too, so there's no actual lawsuit going on, unless Mark, you've started one.
Oh yeah.
So, Anything else?
Just a comment. I've been multitasking this morning while I'm attending the meeting. I've got my WSJTX running here, making contacts. Not many, just a few during the club meeting. So nothing exciting, but I did pick up Northwest Territories, Canada, which is fairly rare. You don't hear them on too often. And it's nice and quiet. It stays in the background and nobody really hears it.
To answer the question that just came up, no, we don't need any extra VEs, but thank you very much for helping out. We have actually 2 backups right now that have worked a lot. So thank you very much.
We should mention the reason. So we usually never turn away VEs. The only reason we've been very careful about not accepting more at these sessions is that we've been trying to be compliant with the group gathering size, all the rules with COVID and everything. So anyone that's willing to help out, wanting to help out, please just be understanding that the size of the VE team during these times is based solely on making sure we follow all the rules and not because we don't want your help. Always we'll take them in under normal times and we'll continue to do so. Right now, it's just based on trying to keep our gathering sizes within all the state, county, city. Everyone's got their set of rules, and we're just trying to follow them.
Well, in addition to that, we're also trying to follow some of the cohort strategy of keeping the same group of people together rather than mixing it up.
Yeah. Plus, remember that normal test session, you can have 20, 30 people. We cannot allow that. The way we've got it set up now is that we have 4 in each group and we have 2 groups. And
yeah, I guess my main point was, please don't be discouraged by us saying, no, we don't need help right now. It's really just because of the special case. And yes, we will absolutely need help as we get out of this situation.
But remember that we're using Laurel, not ARRL. So that would be, we're using the Laurel group other than ARRL. That's how we can get away. Well, not get away, but basically not charge people for it. So if you are an ARRL, it's an easy transfer, but there is some paperwork we'll need to do before that. Any other comments, questions? Well, I want to thank you very much for doing this, and we will be back again next month. And like I said, if you have any ideas or things like you'd see, like what want to see for presentations or just help out our Elmer group that Greg runs, is doing a tremendous job out there, working very hard for you. So if there's no other thing, thank you very much and have a good afternoon. And stay safe.
Stay in touch. We'll stay in touch via email on updates on the repeaters as we go through this one. So thanks everybody for your patience and help.
Yeah,
take care, all.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.